Greetings out there in YouTube land. This is Morris Man, and as always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel. This video is in regards to remembrance of Mr. Ramsey Lewis, great legendary jazz pianist. He passed away September the 12th at the age of, just want to make sure I got this right, the age of 87. Now, here's an interesting story about Mr. Lewis. Because this is a small world. I grew up in the Chicagoland area in the 70s. And back then, there was a program called the Cedar Program, where, you know, these young guys in between seasons or semesters in high school, you know, summer vacation. And they had a program that you would sign up for, and they would put you to work. You know, they would send you perhaps, because I went to a couple of high schools. And of course, we're out of school at the time, and we would maintain the schools. We would clean, wax, and things of that nature, and just some stuff around the school. But it wasn't just school. They would send you to various work sites, you know, that were close to your house because you were a teenager. You didn't have a car. So did I walk? Or did maybe my brother? I forget how I got there. I think I might have walked sometime because it wasn't that far. But I think I took partake of that program at least 3 times or 2 times during high school. I know at least twice. And, you know, each summer, you know, you get paired up with a couple of other guys, and you guys will go and, you know, and do maintenance. And I think it was the first year. It was this guy. Actually, it was 2 guys. One of them name was Big Mike. And then I forget the other guy's name, but he didn't last that long because for some reason he couldn't get to work, you know, so they had to let him go. But me and Mike became pretty good friends, and he casually mentioned, because that's when I was just starting trying to do the little music thing. And he said, my uncle's Ramsey Lewis. I said, really? He said, yeah. And one day he took me to visit his uncle, you know, and I met Ramsey, and I was in his beautiful home. And I sat on his piano and tinkering, and, you know, he played and, you know, just blew me away. So it's just a small world as far as some of the people that you interact with during your life, you know, that you get introduced to these people and you meet them, you know, and really nice guy, very down to earth guy. I didn't realize his stature as far as his stardom and his fame until years later. You know, people would talk about him, you know, as I got older. I said, yeah, I met Ramsey. Oh, you know, and I'm like, he's a really nice guy. You know, I was invited to his home and played on his piano, if you want to call it that. You know, so it's a cherished memory. And, you know, the greats that are passing now, and I hope that I'm wrong in this statement, there'll never, ever be as talented musicians as those guys. And one reason, and I'm just going to touch on this quickly because I'm not going to rant on this, but especially R&B music, or with just everything other than rock, because it's like you can't fake rock. Either you can play or you can't. You know, there's none of that MIDI pack. Some other dude who's a tremendous piano player sells you his chord progression. You just click and drag it in the DAW, and you call yourself a producer or musician. It's a joke, you know? And it's unfortunate that it's that way. Instead of, you know, it was the 60s, now it's 2000s, and there should be better musicians, because we have stuff that can help us learn quicker and better. You know, when I was growing up, there was no YouTube and there was no internet where I can check in these chord voicings and, you know, this is the one I want. You click on it and it gives you the tone. It's like, yeah, this is the one. We didn't have that luxury back then. Either you just bought chord books and your music instructor taught you how to build the different voicings of these chords. You know, that's what we had to do. But now there's no excuse to not be a better musician than those guys back then, because you got more tools to help you become a better musician. You know, so it's just unfortunate that when these greats are dying, they're not being replaced with the next Ramsey Lewis, you know. Instead, you know, I bought this MIDI pack and I clicked and drug this in here and this is my song. You know, no, it ain't, you know. But it is what it is. But again, this video is just basically paying honor to a legendary jazz piano player that we will miss dearly. You know, I used to love listening to him play on records. You know, it's like, wow. maybe I can become a musician at some point. And I did. I became a professional musician. But nothing compares to those guys' musicianship back then. I listen to those records now, CDs, and I was just like, man. And as you get older and become more versed in music, you appreciate it more. You realize how great of a talent these guys are or were. I mean, there are some great musicians floating around this world right now, but not like those guys and not as in quantity as those guys. Because back then, the majority of those guys were very, very, very good players. Not just one or two that stood out. Most of those guys. Just some didn't get the notoriety as others. But for the most part, they all could go there. So on that note, I'm going to set off until next time. And we're going to miss you, Mr. Lewis. Take care.